everyone, I welcome you back to Global Education Zone, the home of impactful learning. It's nice over here for you and I because learning never ends and education is the key to an impactful life. Never done economics. Now, this episode is going to concentrate on an aspect of mathematics that is like an intersection between economics and mathematics. Now, in this episode, we are going to be dealing with commercial arithmetic. Now, commercial arithmetic is a part of mathematics that deals with money and interest and also depreciation and all the rest and other related terms. Now, we are going to be talking about simple interest, compound interest. We are going to talk about shares and investments. We are going to be talking about annuity. We are going to be talking about income tax and value added tax. Now, first of all, let's give a proper introduction and understanding about what all this means. For example, the simple interest on the principal sum of money is invested at a rate of R% per annum over 2 years. So, and that interest is given by PRT, principal times rate times time over 100. Now, that is formula for simple interest. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time divided by 100. Then next, we have the amount is the sum of the principal and interest. So, amount is basically that quantity of money that is gotten when you add the principal. That's the original money invested. When you add the original money invested or saved with the interest generated on that money invested. So, for example, when you save in the bank, right, you save, like, let's say you save 50,000 in the bank, and then at the end of the day you earn an interest of 5,000 naira. Now your amount is the addition of your original amount saved and your interest, which is 50,000 naira plus 5,000 naira. That's 55,000 naira. Now that 55,000 naira is your total amount gained in the period of time given. And note that amounts can be calculated not just for 1 year but multiple years. For example, when you are calculating amounts for multiple years, you calculate it with this formula: A amount equals to P open bracket 1 plus the rate over 100 raised to the power of n. And where your A means your amount, your A represents your amount, the amount of money generated at the end of the investment year or saving year. Then your principal is the original amount of money invested or saved. Then your R is the rate percent, that is the rate of interest, the interest rate at which you are earning interest on that principal saved. Then lastly, your N is the number of years in terms of years, as the time in terms of years taken for that total investment. So the time frame from which that investment happened. So this formula is known as the formula for your compound amount. Now this formula, it represents your compound amount, and this compound amount is formed when you earn interest. When the interest you earn for the first year is added to your principal, and then that aggregate is used as the principal for the next year. Then the principal for the next year plus the interest for the next year, when you add them together, they will give your principal for the next year, and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that P, your principal, is equal to your principal for the second year is equal to your principal, your original principal plus the interest. Then your principal for the third year is equal to your principal for the second year plus the new interest, I3. So and so on and so forth. You keep adding and adding and adding. That is why it's known as a compound interest. Then next, let's talk about interest itself. Interest is simply the gain in value, sometimes called appreciation. So whenever your money generates interest, it's called appreciation. So that means it gains value. Now this appreciation is also opposed by depreciation. Depreciation is when the money loses value. So now whenever you want to calculate depreciation and you want to make use of the amount in compound depreciation, you make use of a negative sign here. So instead of plus, you make use of minus. So if it was depreciation, that would be A is equal to P open bracket 1 minus R over 100 raised to the power of n. So you won't normally come across this, but it happens. Your money can also depreciate if your predictions of the stock market goes fatally wrong. So, but that was just an example. Now let's move on. A share is a form of investment that attracts a dividend that is usually related to the number of shares a person owns. So now your share is basically the amount of the amount of the company or of an institution that you own. So it is like your investment, like the amount of that company that is your own share. So that share, your share is basically the share you earn, that is your dividend every year, is proportional and is directly proportional to the amount of shares you have in the company, and that is also determined by the number of shares. So that number of shares will determine your dividend. And so this is one knowledge we are going to exploit in this episode. Then next, let's talk about annuity. Now, annuity is basically a series of regular payments usually paid at the end of a year. Now, let me explain this concept. For example, when I talk about, let's talk about pension earners, people who earn a constant amount of money called pension. Now, this pension, for example, if I am old and I earn a pension of 10,000 naira every year. Now, at the end of the first year, I earn a pension of 10,000 naira. Now, at the end of that first year, immediately I earn that money, I immediately put it to the bank and I use it to invest. Now, that's if I'm trying to look for, if after 10 years, I'm trying to look at the total amount I've earned. Now, after that 10 years, you see that after the first year, my first pension amount was able to earn for 9 years. That means the amount for that first year, for the first pension, the first amount will be P, which is the first pension, plus 1 plus R over 100. So that will be raised by 9. So that would be the amount earned for the first year pension. Then for the next year pension, that is the second year will be able to earn for only 8 years. So that means the second amount gained at the end of 10 years, that will be second amount gained will be P plus 1 plus R over 100 raised by 8. So and so on and so forth. So we'll get to the end of the day where at the 10th year the is only able to earn an amount of P plus P. So this forms a geometric progression where we are subsequently multiplying by this term here bracket. So that's 1 plus R over 100. So and this geometric progression, you can solve it in different ways. Now, this annuity is a very interesting part of mathematics, and we're going to be solving questions in it too. Then let's talk about your income tax and your value added tax. Now, if you are looking for examples on income tax and value added tax, I've also talked about that in our SS2 episode of this course, but we'll also be buttressing that here, because income tax is paid on taxable income. That is the amount of tax you pay on the proportion of your income that is taxable. And your taxable income is the income that is left after you've removed your dependents relative, the amount allocated to your children, amount allocated to spouse, amount allocated to and so on and so forth, like personal income and all the rest. When you subtract those allocations, you are left with your taxable income. And every earner, even institutions, individuals, and so on and so forth, they all have their taxable income, because not all the income can be taxed. There's only a fraction of the income, and that fraction is called the taxable income. And then that your taxable income is equal to the total income minus your allowances. Now, your allowances are the ones you earn on that are tax free. Let's talk about value added tax. Your value added tax is a direct tax expressed as a percentage of the cost of an item. So your value added tax, for example, if you have a value added tax, also known as VAT, if you have a VAT of 5% on a particular product, that means for every 100% of the price, you are going to take out 5%. That will be the amount of price taken will be 5% of the price. That's what it means. So that's what it means. And if the rate of the VAT is X, that means the VAT paid to the government, that's the value added tax. If the value added tax rate is 5%, or let's call it just X%, if it is X%, then the VAT paid to the government is X over 100 plus X% of the selling price of the selling price. So what this means is that this is the proportion of the selling price that will be earned by the government on that commodity or product. Now, this is the key concept. These are the terms and the key concepts we need to understand for this episode. Now, let's delve into the calculations involved. To illustrate the concepts I've introduced in this video, I'm going to be showing us let's call it a 4 example pattern. I'll be giving 4 examples on these concepts. Now these 4 examples, the first example will be this on simple interest. Now we have to calculate the amount if simple interest is paid yearly at 12% per annum for 3 years on a principal of 150,000 naira. Now, in case you are not in Nigeria, naira is a currency used in Nigeria. So now the formula, we are going to fall back to the formula for simple interest, which is simple interest equals the product of the principal, the rate, and the time, then divide that product by 100. So you can see, as you can see, that's I is equal to PRT over 100. So the principal here is 150,000 naira. The rate here is 12% per annum, and then the time here is 3 years. So when we multiply and divide by 100, we get, at the end of the day, we have our interest becomes 54,000 naira, and then our principal becomes 150,000 naira. So, and then our amount, which you have to calculate here, is the sum of the principal and the interest, which is 150,000 naira plus 54,000 naira. That would be 204,000 naira. Now that is how to make use of simple interest to calculate what. Now let's move on to this to the compound interest. Now this compound interest is, I mentioned earlier that is interest that is accumulated. That is when you add the interest to the subsequent principals, you will keep accumulating it and using it to calculate more and more interest. So it's just like your interest is earning more interest. It's just like the analogy of capital in economics. So economics, capital is the money that is used to earn more money. Now that is simply what this is all about, compound interest. Now in this question we are told that a special bank account pays compound interest of up to 6% half yearly to savers. A saver deposits 800,000 naira in his account, and how much does this amount to after 1.5 years? So in this question we are told that we have a rate of 6%, we have a principal of 800,000, and we have a time of 1.5 years. So what we are going to do here, we are going to look for the interest half yearly. That means for the first half year, so we are looking for 1.5 years. So for the first half of the year, now this 3.5, this 1 number 3 over 1 over 1 over 2 is composed of 3 halves. So half plus half plus half is 1 over 2. So that means we are going to have 3 half yearly partitions. So for the first half yearly, the interest for the first half yearly is 6% of 800,000. That would be 48,000 naira. Then in this compound interest, you are going to add the interest to the principal again. So when you add the interest to the principal, you get when you add the interest to the principal, you get the amount. So this amount becomes the principal for the second year. So that is what compound interest is. So your amount for at the end of the year, your amount becomes your principal for the next year, and then your amount for that year becomes the principal for the next year again. Amount becomes principal for the subsequent years. So as you can see, our amount has turned to a principal, and then we calculate 6% on the second principal, and then we get 50,818 naira, and then we still add that to the amount to get the amount for the third year. And then when we calculate that, at the end of the day, we have a compound amount of 952,813 naira. You can also use the formula I wrote on the board. So you can also use it, but this is also a very good way of attempting the question. So now let's move on to the part of this question that I really like to show you guys. So, and that is the part that talked about a doctor buys a house worth 8 million. She pays 1.5 million down, and the remaining amount is 15 equally yearly installments. If compound interest is charged as 5% per annum, what is the annual repayment installment? So this is an example of making use of the annuity method. So in this case, she buys the house worth 8 million, and then she pays only 1.5 million down, and the remaining is paid amount in 15 equal installments. So that means for each year we divide the remaining amount by 15. So in this equal installments, she pays this amount in installments, and then if the compound interest is charged as 5% per annum, so that means that's the rate of interest, and then what is the annual repayment installment? So now that is the amount paid yearly by the. So now we say let the annual installment be X, and then after the down payment of 1.5 million, the amount remaining to be paid is 6.5 million. That is true. Then next we have 6.5 million will amount to 6.5 million open brackets 1 plus 5 over 100 raised by 15. So that will be the total amount of that because this will be the amount of the money. Then next we have that an installment of X at the end of the first year will amount to X open bracket 1.05 raised per 14. So that means that's the installment she pays at the first year. Then at the second year, the installment will amount to, and so on and so forth. You can see the table of the amount, because at the first year, when you subtract first year minus the total of 15 years, you have 14 years left to earn. For the second year, when you subtract 2 years from 15, you have 13 years to earn, and that's how it is. It's like a geometric progression. Now when you have this table, all the instruments will add up to the total installments. So that way all the installments will add up to x open bracket 1.05 raised per 14 13. That will be a geometric progression. And then when we are looking for the sum of that progression, we'll calculate the sum of the progression, and then we'll get it as x times 2.08 raised per 2.08 minus 1 over 0.05. So when we calculate everything, we have 2.21.6x. So that will be what it will amount to. And then this 21.6x, yeah, okay, this 21.6x, x will be equals to 6.5 million. That's 6,500,000 times 2.08 divided by 21.6, because that x will be equals to the amount times the total the amount. So when we calculate everything like that times total compound amount, when we divide, we are going to get our answer as 625,800 naira. That's the amount that she will pay yearly. That will be the installment of x naira yearly. So that's the equal installment. So this question demonstrates one of the various ways you can apply the knowledge of annuity to calculate different things in mathematics. So now let's go on to the last part of this question, where we'll be solving an example on value-added tax. So in this example, we have an item is marked to cost 7,000 VAT inclusive. So we ask, what is the rate? If the rate of VAT is 5%, how much VAT does the government receive? So now you can see that if the VAT is inclusive, that means the VAT plus the amount of the product will be equals to the total amount. That means that 7,000 naira will be equals to 100% of the product cost plus 5% of the product cost. That's 105% of the cost. So 700, you can see that's 105% of the cost price is equal to 7,000. That means 1% will be what? 7,000 divided by 105, and then next we have 5% of what? 5 times 7,000 over 105. So when you calculate and evaluate, you are going to get 333 naira 333 number 1 over 3. That's 333.33 naira. So that is the amount of VAT charged on this product. Now this episode we'll need to explore many ways you'll be able to perform calculations on your commercial arithmetic, and each of these questions cover the 4 basic parts where you can ask questions. So you can just master them, and you can apply them in various questions that you come across. So hopefully you've been able to gain from this video, and thank you for watching. See you next episode.